Hi, this is Dylan from Sol-Ark, and today I'd like to give you guys a quick overview of your setup on the Sol-Ark 8K and 12K. So first off, you'll notice you have the home screen, which is a color touchscreen display, and you have there's actually 4 lights up here. 3 of them are on right now. When the DC light is on, that means you have solar panel power. When the AC light is on, that means you have grid or a generator input, and normal means that the inverter is functioning properly. If you have the 4th one that is red, if that's lit, you have an alarm of some kind, and you can check what alarm it is by going to settings and then system alarms. But anyways, back to this home screen here. On the left, this is how much power is being made on the solar panels. The arrows going up means you're making power on solar panels. This number here is how much is being purchased from or sold to, pulled from or given to the grid. And in this case I'm using like 20 watts, and arrows up mean buying from, and green arrows down on this one means that you're selling to. The light bulb is your loads. So this number here, I don't have any loads on this particular system, but this would be whatever's hooked up to the load breaker, how much power that's using. And then again here for the battery, this is how much power is going into or out of the battery. Green and negative is charging. Orange and positive is discharging from the battery. And then of course you have your current battery percentage. Now if you touch the battery, it'll take you to this screen. Here you have a solar column, grid, inverter, UPS load, battery, and then temperatures down here. So in the solar column you have the wattage being made on the solar panels at the top. L1 and L2 refer to MPPT1 and MPPT2 for this column. So you can see the voltage on MPPT input 1, the voltage on MPPT input 2, amperage and wattage per MPPT again. In the grid column, you'll see the hertz of your grid connection, the wattage going to or from the grid. The HM values, these are the CT sensor values. I don't have any CT sensors hooked up to this particular unit. This negative 11 here is within the about 20 to 30 watts of noise, so we can ignore that. The load value, that's just how much we're doing on that leg, either leg 1 or leg 2 to the grid. For the inverter, we have negative 23 watts here or so. That's how much power is being made by the inverter. And same thing as the grid here, hertz, voltage per leg, amps per leg, watts per leg. UPS load is going to be how much power is going to the backup loads, which is the load output breaker of the Sol-Ark. You have your wattage here at the top, total. Wattage per leg of the inverter output, leg 1 being here, leg 2 being here, and then the wattage on the voltage on each leg as well. And then in the battery column, you have either negative, which is charging, and positive, which is discharging values for the wattage. Current SOC is in percent, current battery voltage, amps going into or out of the battery, and then this is the battery temperature sensor reading. I actually don't have a battery temperature sensor hooked up right now, so the default value is negative 20, but you would see your current temperature for the battery if you install your battery temperature sensor, which by the way does not have a polarity when you're installing it, so no worries there. And then these are the inverter temperatures. Alright, so go back to the home screen here, and we'll jump right into the settings. So something to look at right when you're first doing your setup is to go to your basic setup, go to display, it's your first tab here. Make sure that auto dim is enabled. There should be a check mark here. If that's not enabled, the screen will never turn off and it'll burn itself out. In order to retain the warranty on your screen, you need to make sure that that is selected. If you want to turn the beep off but you're experiencing some kind of alarm, you can unselect the beep and press OK, and that will turn the beep off. And then to turn it back on, you just put a check mark there and press OK again. By the way, anytime you change any settings here, you must press OK in order for it to remember those changes. Moving along, we have time. Always set up the time when you first do an install. This is to make sure that your time of use operates as you would expect. And also to make it easier to debug when you're looking at data later on down the road. The Advanced tab. So the most important thing here is going to be this Auto Detect Home Limit Sensors. You would put a check mark for this box and then press OK. And this is, you have to have the limiter sensors installed before you use this function. And with this version of software, which is the most recent as of the recording of this video, this function only works for 120 240 volt installs. If you have a 208 volt install, you'll need to do it the way that's referenced in the manual. Alright, factory reset tab. The only two ones that most folks will be using are lockout all changes, and maybe if you need to, a factory reset. Very unusual to need that, but if your utility company requires you to lock out all changes, you can put a check mark there, and this will password protect any changes to the settings. Alright, and then if you're using a 12K, you'll have a parallel tab here. If you have multiple systems in parallel, you will make sure that all of them have parallel selected. Only one of them can be the master, and that'll be the one that controls the show, and then the rest of the units will be slave units, as selected here. There it is. And they'll each have their own Modbus serial number. These phases here are only used for three-phase ganged system setups. And I'll go back a menu here. And then just a quick overview of your settings on the grid side, the system programming side for what mode it's in. Grid cell it'll sell as much power as it can to the grid. Limited power to home uses those CT sensors to offset the power being used by the home, measures the power by the home, and sells back only that amount, so that in net you don't send any power back to the power grid. Limited power to load is just like limited power to home, but instead of using the CT sensors, it only offsets the power going to whatever's hooked up to the load breaker. This is usually your critical load panel or transfer switch. Time of use. This is if you're getting charged at a different rate at different times of day for your electricity. You can use this to offset that, kind of in an arbitrage kind of way. And you can also choose at what times you want to discharge your batteries. And then all these other tabs we will get to in a future video. System alarms, I think we covered. Again, this is where you see any alarm codes. They'll be displayed here. And then if anybody ever asks you what software version your system is, that's located in the bottom right hand corner here. So your ID, that's the serial number for the system. The COM and the MCU, these are your two software versions. So in this case, I'm recording it on 1290 and 1842. Anyways, that does it for the basic walkthrough. Have a great day.